Hello and welcome to True Audio Files. Today I'm going to be doing a sound quality shootout for Ladies of the Canyon by Joni Mitchell. Biggest reason for that is Mofi just released the new one-step version of it. Just got it in the mail today, actually. Got it and immediately cleaned it and started listening to it. So I got number 406. I guess there's going to be about 5,000 of them supposedly available. And I have two other, well, I technically have three other copies, but two of them are nearly identical. Basically, I have what appears to be a first pressing from everything I can gather. It's this one right here in a gatefold, and the jacket's beat up, but the record is actually in pretty good shape. It has a BG in the dead wax, which leads me to believe it would be Bernie Grumman, but if it was, would have been a really, really early cutting by him if he did, because I think he started right around that time period. This was around like 70 or 71. So it's possible he cut this one. But I have that one, which is, like I said, it looks like it's about a first pressing. Then I have this one here, which is in at least a little bit better shape in terms of physically, the jacket at least. And this one looks to me about 76 pressing or so. It has a mastered by Capitol in the dead wax on it. No Bernie Grumman listed on that. So I have those two, and I basically have two Bernie Grumman or BG. I shouldn't say Bernie Grumman because I don't know that for a fact, but two versions that have the BG and the dead wax. So they both appear to be early pressings, but I didn't listen to that other one obviously because it's probably going to sound exactly the same. So, or should, in theory. I am somewhat interested in hearing people's take on the version that came out, I think, in 2021. I think Bernie Grumman did the cut of that one. But I never got that one just because I had these ones, and I was pretty happy with them. And I bought a couple of the other remasterings of Joni Mitchell's stuff, like Blue and a couple of the other albums too. But this one just I never bought it because I already had multiple copies of it, so I didn't feel the need. So anyway, that being said, what I usually do on these, as most of you know who watch my videos anyways, I listen to the new reissue that just came out all the way through to take a listen to it full way and kind of get an idea of which song or songs I think will be the best for doing an A-B comparison to, just because it's easier to do a song-to-song A-B instead of a whole record to a whole record, because audio memory is not very good. So if you can do quick snippets back and forth between a couple, between one song, it makes it easier. So I did Big Yellow Taxi, which is probably one of the most popular songs off of this, and then I also did Conversation as well, just because it had a little bit more stuff going on too on it. So, but anyway, I listened to the one step all the way through. I thought it sounded good. I had a decent amount of treble, decent amount of low end. The low end, you're not going to necessarily pick out quite as much on something like this one, just because it's mainly acoustic guitar, maybe a little bit of percussion, and her vocals. There's no like drum kits, there's no bass guitar or anything like that. So, you might hear the occasional, sound of her hitting her acoustic guitar, which gives you a little bit of a thumping sound, or maybe a thumping sound from the microphone or stuff like that. But there's not going to be a ton of bass in general on this. So, overall, I thought it was good. There was a decent amount of high end, and overall, it was a relatively quiet pressing as well. Not as quiet as I would expect from a super vinyl pressing, but still really quiet. So I would say if I had to make a nitpick, there is one thing that I have had with this, and I've been having with a lot of the more recent Mofis, and I have it on virtually no other records that I own that I've been listening to as of late, and that is there is still some sibilance on this. I primarily hear it anytime she has a super pronounced F like she says Florida in one song and some other times, and it's noticeable during those times, but those are really the only times I hear the sibilance on this. It's not, don't hear it on any cymbals. I don't hear it anytime she has any S's that she says. I think I heard it one time when she had a TH sound, but it was very minor on that one. But so there was still some sibilance on this, and but it wasn't as bad as the Van Halen 2. If you want to watch that video, you can hear my take on that. But anyways, that was the one issue that I had with this record. So overall, that sounded good. Unfortunately, mine got a little bit damaged in transit, so it got a little dinged up. But the records themselves are in okay shape. It's just the outer package and the jackets themselves that got banged up. One thing I will say, that for those of you who are watching that do have this issue that you run into a lot of times with split seams, looks like they're now starting to put the record on the outside of that inner jacket, so it doesn't split the seams of those inner jackets now. So that, I guess, is some good news for those people who are having those issues during shipment. And for those of you who, that's important too. So that's kind of a new thing that I've seen. I haven't seen that in any of the other Mofis or One Steps. So that is kind of my take on the One Step. I compared it to, I listened to the first pressing, what appeared to be first or early pressing anyways, like 1970-ish pressing, and definitely sounded a lot different. The soundstage wasn't quite as wide on the 1970 copy. Also, there wasn't as much treble. There's still some decent treble, but it didn't seem like there's quite as much, but there was a little bit more mid-range on it, maybe even like a kind of lower mid-range. So guess it all depends on your EQ preferences. I personally probably would lean more towards maybe something in between the two of them, where you kind of had a little bit more mid-range than you have on the One Step, but maybe a little less treble. So like I said, maybe somewhere in between would have been my comfort zone on that, and probably would have been my preference. But it was definitely noticeable. I thought that though the extra high frequencies that you got on the One Steps definitely gave it a more open feel and sound to it, in my opinion. And had a wider sound stage, which was really nice. I mean, the cymbals and the fretwork on the guitar and things like that really shine when you have that extra treble that you don't get on the earlier pressing. I then switched over to the 1976-ish copy, and actually I thought that one sounded a little bit better. I thought that there was a little bit better definition, especially in the high end. One thing I noticed on specifically was in the cymbals, or whatever they're using. It sounded like cymbals of some sort in Big Yellow Taxi. So it definitely was something that I felt had an edge over the first one. And it was actually, and the other interesting thing about it was that it wasn't cut quite as loud as the first one either. And the first one wasn't cut quite as loud as the One Step. So the 1976 copy, which was mastered at Capitol, is the only kind of information I have about mastering, is that it was the quietest cut of the three. But I definitely feel that it was a little bit of a step up from the first pressing or early pressing. Still not quite at the level of the One Step, in my opinion, as far as the treble goes, because I would say EQ wise, the 1970-ish and the 76 one, they sounded very, very close to the same when it came from an EQ standpoint. Just a little bit better definition, especially on like the cymbal percussion of some sort on the tracks. So I would definitely say, if the One Step didn't have the sibilance issues that it would be a clear-cut favorite. So I definitely still put it above the other two, but unfortunately that sibilance really knocks it down a peg, and I would be really curious to hear how those current reissues by Burning Grumman sound in comparison to this One Step. But that's kind of my take. I think if you don't like a lot of treble, or you know, the trouble that Mofi typically has, especially on the most recent releases, you're probably going to lean more towards the earlier pressings, and my guess is the Bernie Grummans probably won't have quite as much trouble, but I don't know. But I'd love to hear your take. That's kind of what I have to say about it. Do you have the Bernie Grumman, and do you have the One Step? Have you been able to compare them? And are there better early pressings than the ones I have, besides the two that I listened to, that you would say are even better maybe than any of the other versions I've been talking about here today? So let me know in the comment section. So thank you for watching. I want to thank you for subscribing if you subscribe. If you don't, please do so. I'd love to see some subscribers. Some new ones, that is. And hit that like button if you liked what you saw here, and hit the alert bell when you want, so you can know when my new videos come out. So that's everything I have for today. I want to thank you very much, and you have yourself a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. Thanks a lot.